Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with yet another box that remarkably has not yet gone out of print. And I have sort of the reason why it hasn't gone out of print. The box in question is yet another from Deutsche Grammophon. It is technically called the Vienna Philharmonic 175th Anniversary Edition. Here it is. But I call it the Vienna Philharmonic Sloppy Seconds Edition. And the reason is because the good 175th Anniversary Edition is on Decca. Now, God forbid Decca and Deutsche Grammophon, which are the same company now, would put together a single, totally, unbelievably superb 175th Anniversary Edition. That would have been asking too much, wouldn't it? But it doesn't really matter because Decca has the cool stuff. That's the difference. It's not that this one's bad, as you're going to see. It has 44 CDs and other stuff in it, but it's not as interesting repertoire-wise. Because think of what the Vienna Philharmonic has on Decca. You've got the Loren Mazel stuff, including the Sibelius cycle. You've got the Makaris-Janicek stuff, which is like amazing, right? You have all the early Schulte, including all of Schulte's Wagner. You have the Schmidt-Isserstedt Beethoven cycle, which is arguably the best Beethoven cycle that Vienna ever did. And it certainly has one of the best ever versions of the Ninth. So, I mean, and so it goes. Horst Stein doing Bruckner. You've got really marvelous things that haven't been flogged to death. You've got that wonderful Decca box of Karajan stuff, which has some of his absolutely best material. Really some of the best stuff he ever did. And it was with the Vienna Philharmonic, and it was those early Decca recordings, like the Dvorak 8th. We've talked about some of them. And so what we have here is certainly not shabby, but the things that are really good, like I said, have been flogged to death, and the other stuff isn't so interesting. So let's take a look. First, let us examine the interior. We shall open the magic box. Wait a moment. Oh, there it goes. One thing you'll see for the 44 CDs. Now, why is the box this big? Oh, first of all, you get this icky styrofoam thing. I should probably throw it out, but it may have a couple years before it turns into a pile of sticky goo and destroys all the CDs. Now, the question is, why do you have these huge dividers on either side pushing this? I mean, this would all fit into something like that big. You see what I'm doing here? Like that big, instead of this very large box. Well, the reason this is this big is because the Decca box was this big. It's purely a case of keeping up with the Joneses. I really believe that. The Decca box, I think, had more CDs in it. I have it over there, but I have to like pull it out from under a bunch of other boxes, and it's like, too much of a pain in the ass. So let's see what's in here. This is what's really going to make or break our decision. I can't believe this was still around, and it's not that expensive. It was like $113 on Amazon for 44 CDs. I mean, it's a good deal. But as with all these boxes, and as you guys so astutely commented in talking about the DG 11140 conductor box, you're stuck with someone else's choices of what they think is interesting, or whatever they happen to have sitting around, that they couldn't stuff anywhere else. And those are your options. They're not always great ones, but we'll start at the beginning here. I think this is the beginning. Well, here's the booklet. You know what? These are, yes. We have some original jacket cover things, and then we have a booklet. But let's do the jackets, so I can show some of them to you. All right, first stack. You ready? Beethoven 5 and 6 with Leonard Bernstein. 6, this is recoupled, which is nice. You have a better deal. But the Bernstein-Beethoven cycle, like I said, is a very, very known quantity. Disc 2. Who's this? This is Beethoven 2, the 7th, with Vienna Phil and Raphael Kubelik. This was from his, a different orchestra for every symphony cycle. And that's kind of nice to have there, although you probably have the different orchestra for every symphony cycle if you were really that interested in it. And the 7th wasn't one of the better performances in that cycle. Oops. Let's see what else we have. Oh my God, this thing. This is horrible. This is one of Fort Wengler's worst recordings of the 9th, and it's just embarrassing and sounds terrible too. It's just, oh God. Ugh. But they had to. They had to, because we all know that the best one is Schmidt or Schnitt. All right, then we get the James Levine Brahms cycle. This is the highlight of the box. This is one of the most astoundingly great Brahms symphony cycles ever in the history of mankind. Of course, Levine did two of them. There's the Chicago one in RCA, which is every bit as good, but not as plush. It's definitely not as cushy sounding. If you like your Brahms a little bit leaner, then you'll like the Chicago one. But boy, is this gorgeous. Oh my God, it's gorgeous. It is the epitome of the Viennese Brahms. And you also get the alto rhapsody and the tragic overture, the alto in question being Anna Sophie von Otter. But this is glorious, and it's wonderful to have, and I am totally, totally in favor of it. So there. Let's see. Then we get the German Requiem, Vienna Philharmonic von Karajan, the digital one. Oh, soggy, disgusting. You know, we did our German Requiem thing. I Karajan in this piece is just oh gosh, it's just slick and oily and you know. Actually, this one is probably less slick and oily than the earlier ones, but it's okay. Bruckner 4, again, Furtwängler, the wrong edition. It's not special. It's truly not by any standard. I know the Furtwängler people will jump up and down like this and go, ah, he said something naughty about Furtwängler. Well, the truth of the matter is Furtwängler was horrible as often as not. He could be transcendentally great as well, but nobody thinks that Bruckner Fourth is transcendentally great, and it's the old corrupt edition with the quiet ending, the first half of the scherzo, and all the reorchestration. Okay, Bruckner 7, Giulini, very, very good, very beautiful. One of his, last recordings, and it was very, very well done. Bruckner 8 with Boulez, surprisingly good. Very, very good Bruckner 8. This was a shocker when it came out. It's live from St. Florian or one of those monastery places. And it's really, really quite exceptionally fine. And who'd have guessed? Who'd have guessed? And Bruckner 9 with Giulini again. But again, these have been flogged to death. I mean, everybody knows these things. It's such just regularly expected stuff. That's part of the problem. Then we have Bruckner, the Mass No. 1, 5 motets with John Eliot Gardiner. Not terribly well recorded sonically. There was something a little iffy about it. And Gardiner with Vienna Phil was always sort of an uncomfortable pairing. It's not bad. It's not bad. I mean, it's a little bit more of an enterprising choice because, they're sort of already running out of conductors. I mean, once you get rid of Bernstein and Karl Böhm, and they haven't gotten to Karl Böhm yet, I don't think, and, Furtwängler, and, those are the ones. And they have Claudio Abbado later. Oh, yes, John Eliot Gardiner. Well, who wants John Eliot Gardiner doing Chabrier with the Vienna Philharmonic? Is it terrible? No. Is it particularly charming and idiomatic and lovely and personable and enchanting? No. Is it John Eliot Gardiner's Vienna Philharmonic discography something we're all looking forward to? Say it with me, folks. No! So that's that pile. All right, I'm on another pile. Let's take a new pile. New pile. Let me take pile number 1 and stick it over here so it doesn't get lost. To be careful. Okay, Dvorak 3 and 7. This is with Myung-Whun Chung and the Vienna Phil. These are good. These are very, very good. Fine disc. Lovely to see it reappearing. So that's nice. Schumann 4 with Dvorak 8. These are late Karajan, I believe. Yes, these are these 1987 digital things. And they're not as good as his earlier ones. It's just that simple. I mean, the Decca Dvorak 8 is one of the all-time great Dvorak 8s. This isn't bad. I mean, Karajan, excuse me, I got an itch. Here we go. Karajan was never, bad in Dvorak 8, but he did it 3 or 4 times, and this is, not as good as the earlier ones, or some of the earlier ones. Oh, yes. Oh, look, more John Eliot Gardiner. The Enigma variations, and In the South, and the Introduction and Allegro, and Sospiri. Does anybody care about this? I mean, I don't. Is it terrible? Again, no, it's not. It's just totally unimportant and so not interesting to hear the Vienna Philharmonic in that music for some reason. Probably because it's Gardiner. Because Gardiner was the last guy to celebrate the sensuous tonal qualities of the Vienna Philharmonic. And frankly, it would be great for Elgar. I mean, you want to hear that. I would love to hear Elgar given the full Viennese treatment. But with Gardiner? I mean, come on. It's absolutely nuts. There's no way he's going to do something like that, and he doesn't. So, it's neat, it's clean, it's clipped, it's tidy. It doesn't sound anything like the wonderful Vienna Philharmonic. Good sound, especially in the South, which sounds a lot like Don Juan. It's a big Straussian tone poem. It should sound Straussian. But when was the last time you saw Gardiner with the Orchestre Révolutionnaire et Romantique doing Richard Strauss tone poems? You don't, and there's a reason for it. Next, Haydn 92 and 88. Oh, these are great. These Bernstein recordings are just fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. I mean, the Oxford is particularly interesting, and the Eighth is marvelous for taking the second half repeat in the first movement, which I don't think it has. He's the only person who's ever done one. It's really kind of interesting. It's marvelous, marvelous performances. Then we have, the Merry Widow with John Eliot Gardiner. It's like a Gardiner Vienna box. I just can't get over that. I mean, it's not a bad Merry Widow. It's not. It's like all this stuff. It's just average. It's really just average. The cast here is Cheryl Studer and Bryn Terfel and Barbara Bonney and Bo Scovis. I mean, it's a wonderful cast. But, the Merry Widow, it's one of those pieces where there are Merry Widow people who do Merry Widows, and you want to find them, wherever they are. Okay, Bruno Walter, 1955, doing the Mozart Prague Symphony and Mahler 4. This was, remember the Vienna Philharmonic had that box of sort of like live stuff that had Klemperer and doing his Beethoven Fifth and Schubert Unfinished, which was gorgeous. And this was in there too. These aren't bad. They're in scruffy sound, as you might expect. And they're, like I said, they're short of conductors. So they have to use this historical material. Bruno Walter, of course, did a better Mahler 4 with the New York Phil. He did better Mozart later on in his career. Mahler 5, Pierre Boulez. This is very good Mahler 5. I like this Mahler 5. It may be a touch underplayed, but at least it's there. And of course, there is the Bernstein Mahler stuff that he did with the Vienna Philharmonic, and God forbid they should use that, like the Sixth, or the Bernstein Mahler Fifth, which is even better than this one, and it's with the Vienna Philharmonic. So it's like, okay. Mozart, Eine kleine Nachtmusik, Post-Horn Serenade, James Levine, very, very good. His Mozart was excellent. He did all the symphonies with the Vienna Philharmonic, and it's fine. It's just first rate. And Mozart Symphonies 29 and the Hofner with Karl Böhm. Finally, something with Karl Böhm, and it's Mozart, and it's very, very good. And the Masonic funeral music in here is really, really good. I mean, it's very fun. Then we have Mozart Prague Symphony again, and 39 with Karl Böhm, and Mozart 40 and 41 with Karl Böhm. It's all nice to have. It's all very, very nice to have. It's very well done. Mozart Requiem, Vienna Phil Herbert von Karajan. Ugh. It's not just because I don't like the Mozart Requiem. It's because Karajan in choral music, as I've said a million times, was always a problem because he didn't like the chorus. He couldn't balance the chorus the way he wanted to. It's just not happening. And then we have Knappertsbusch, 1957, doing Schubert 9 and Franz Schmidt's Variations on a Hussar Song. Well, this is kind of fun. It's also kind of Knappertsbuschy, kind of messy and sluggish, and the Schmidt's nice to have, but of course in the Decca box you get the Franz Schmidt Symphony No. 4 with Zu and Medo, which is one of the great things the Vienna Phil ever did. And is this one of those things? No. But they found some Schmidt and they stuffed it in there. Gurrlieder with Abato, not the best Gurrlieder. Sharon Sweet, Siegfried Jerusalem, Mariana Lipovshek, Philip Langridge, and a few other people speaking and screaming and shrieking. I mean, it's okay. It's good. It's good, but it's not. See what I mean here? By sloppy seconds, they could be doing. Had they been Decca, they could have gotten a lot more interesting stuff in there. All right, last pile. Schumann 2, Vienna Phil and Sinopoli. It's Sinopoli. It's the Vienna Phil. It's a nobody has ever mentioned that performance since it first came out. I wonder if there could be a reason. It's not because it's bad. It's just because it's not interesting. Mavlost. Oh, some other goodies with James Levine. Frankly, it sucks. I think this is an underplayed, undercharacterized. It's just not idiomatic sounding at all, which is fascinating. When you consider, like, the Czech Philharmonic is like right up the street. You like go left and go straight for a little bit, and there's the Czech Philharmonic doing a fabulous Mavlost. But Vienna doesn't. It's too heavy. It's just too heavy and too dark for the work. And Levine, I think, is just a taskmaster in that piece. He beats time, but he doesn't have anything particularly interesting to say about it. And then we have, waltzes. Well, Strauss waltzes with Karl Böhm. What's not to like? I mean, it's Strauss waltzes. You got to like them when Vienna plays them. Oh, then we get a bunch of New Year's concerts. We'll say, well, here's one of them. Wait. New Year's concert 2003. This is with Harnoncourt. Okay, if you want like a New Year's concert, like I said, I find the New Year's concerts one of the more horrifying examples of celebration in the entire recorded discography, especially the DVDs. I've done these before with the Viennese audience in their formal dress clapping like this to the Radetzky March. It's like the Stepford audience. They're all automata. It's creepy. It's so creepy. Okay, then Strauss, Symphonic Fantasy from Die Frau Schatten, and Ein Heldenleben with Telemann. This is probably the worst Ein Heldenleben ever recorded. It's horrible. It's horrible in so many ways I can't even begin to describe it. It is rhythmless. It is heavy. It is thick. It is muddy. It is a joke. It's horrifying. It's just disgusting. It's terrible. Absolutely terrible. Then we have the Sinfonia Domestica and Macbeth, this time with Lord Mazel. These are not bad. These are not too shabby. I think Mazel does his weird thing. I don't remember if this is the performance. He recorded this a bunch of times. How many times do you get to do the Sinfonia Domestica? I mean, how many times do you want to do the Sinfonia Domestica? But he did, and he does his replace the tambourine with a snare drum routine. I think he does it in this. I didn't listen to it again, frankly, or I did when this box originally came out years ago, but I haven't done it for this talk. I'm sorry, I should have, I suppose. So please accept my humble apology if I get that percussion tidbit wrong. Maybe one of you will tell me. I don't know. I just can't get enough enthusiasm to care to do it again. But again, it's not a bad Sinfonia Domestica. It's certainly better than Telemann's Heldenleben. I mean, you want to hear the difference between real conducting and just pointless waving around and getting in the way. Compare these two performances. Then we have more Richard Strauss, Rosenkavalier Suite, intermezzo thingies. Oh, and this is the Andre Previn one. This is good. This is really very good. It's the Capriccio introduction to moonlight music and the Dance of the Seven Veils. Previn did a few discs with them. I mean, his best, of course, Strauss stuff with the Vienna Philharmonic is on Telarc. So it's not on DG. You see, sloppy seconds strikes again. And Richard Strauss Alpine Symphony. Oh God, Christian Telemann again. This is also horrible. It's the same thing with Heldenleben. It's just dull and muddy and unintelligent and I don't know why he's there or what he thinks he's bringing to the table. It's terrible. And it's the Vienna Philharmonic, but it was an early, what was it? It was one of those 4-channel or something recordings or SACDs or something like that. It doesn't even sound good. It's just ugh. Okay, more Strauss. Soloists. More Andre Previn, Vienna Philharmonic. This is short things. The concerto for oboe and the horn concertos 1 and 2 and the duet concertino. Lovely solo playing, nice conducting, not terribly interesting music, and nothing that's going to make you sit up and go, like, for example, the Macaris Janicek or the Mazel Sibelius or any of the other marvelous things on Decca. So it's this one here. Tchaikovsky Ballet Suites, Vienna Phil, James Levine. Totally forgettable. A completely unnecessary and uninteresting disc by any definition. Tchaikovsky 4 with Claudio Abbado. Very, very good. This was an excellent Tchaikovsky 4, and so it remains. Tchaikovsky 6, also with Claudio Abbado. These were good. These were very, very good performances, beautifully played, and it's nice to have them. I don't have any problem with that. Of course, he remade all of it with the Chicago Symphony for Sony. I think these Vienna ones are probably better. I really do, in this case. Wagner, let's see, the Overture to Tannhäuser, Siegfried's Puddle, the Siegfried Idyll, you know what I mean, and the Prelude and Liebestod to Tristan and Isolde with Karajan. This is, remember that? Yes, with Jesse Norman singing the Liebestod. This is one of those late digital recordings, which again is not as good as Karajan's earlier versions of those pieces, which were on, I think actually on EMI. Some of them were. I know the Tannhäuser music was. And sloppy seconds. Sloppy seconds. German favorites. You get the Mendelssohn Midsummer Night's Dream Overture, Weber, Euryanthe, and Oberon, Mendelssohn the Hebrides, Nikolai the Merry Wives of Windsor, Marschner Hans Heiling, and Wagner's Rienzi with Telemann. See, the problem with Telemann doing German favorites is that Telemann isn't a German favorite. And that's the problem. Music's fine. Conducting, it's just such a non-happening. And finally, the 1989 New Year's concert with Carlos Kleiber. Do you care? I mean, do you really care? I mean, you know, that's it. That's the sloppy seconds DG Vienna Philharmonic box. We've gotten through it all in something like 20 minutes. It didn't take long. I promised you it wouldn't. Because, like I said, the good stuff, we all know, and we all have it. And the rest of this, I mean, do you really think for the 175th anniversary of the Vienna Philharmonic, you're going to be celebrating their recordings with John Elliott Gardiner, Andre Previn, Christian Telemann? I mean, you know, who are you kidding? It's crazy. No. You do not need this box. Wait, let me get it. Here it is in its little box. This is it. Now you know why it's still available. It's still around because no one bought it the first time. So they're just unloading the extra copies that they have still sitting in their warehouse, whereas the Decca went out of print instantaneously because of all the cool stuff that was in it. And that, my friends, is the story in this particular competition. Unfortunately, Decca comes out way on top, and DG is playing with leftovers. Now, mind you, they could have done better. They could have given you a complete Beethoven cycle. They could have given you Bernstein. I mean, Abbado did it, which was not very good. Let's face it, now we have, we didn't have Andres Nelsons back then. Oh boy, thank God that we didn't have Andres Nelsons, because now there will be Andres Nelson's Beethoven in their 200th anniversary box. Won't that be something to look forward to, my friends? All right, enough of that. I've been snarky and cynical enough, but you get the picture. It makes no sense whatsoever when you have, 3 labels under one roof, all of whom are recording the same orchestra, that some brainiac can't sit there and say, let's get the best of each one and issue a really memorable box and keep it in print and market it and make it something really special. No. That would be far too difficult. So there you go. I don't think you need it. I didn't need it. I have it, but I certainly didn't need it. And that's the truth. Keep on listening, folks. Thank you so much for joining me. Let's make America classical again. Take care.